This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
Love one another. Love is a gift from the heart. It is generous, soul-enriching, divine. When we step beyond fear and into love, we are guiding ourselves and everyone we touch to a higher state of consciousness. Remember, when we love, we are spreading the joy and word of our Creator. Choose love over fear. It is so easy to fear. Fear closes you down, breaks you apart from your divine knowing and connection. Fear keeps you playing and living small. When you breathe into your fears, what you will find is a lot of distortions of how you see things. Fear has no power, unless we give it power. Practice to live from love. Breathe and connect to your heart. Your heart is generous and is committed to the divine. When you move beyond your fears and into your heart and divine has all the power you need, 1,000,000 times more powerful than fear. Breathe in love. Breathe in the divine light. Valeria Teles interviews Mary Ann Robbat, a master energy healer, intuitive, life coach, and founder of the Center for Lifelong Happiness and the Journey of the Healer School. Mary Ann Robbat has been transforming lives for more than 20 years by precisely identifying the limiting beliefs and emotionally charged issues that block clients from the joyful, abundant life they deserve. Her proven Tolera methodology and her award-winning book, Engaging Your Power, has allowed thousands of people to release limiting beliefs, align their physical, emotional, and spiritual energy, and manifest their desired life. Mary Ann easily connects spiritual and energy practices to real-world living in her innovative programs, guiding individuals to heal themselves, open their intuition, and answer the call to become powerful healers within their own practices. Meet Mary at MaryAnnRobbat.com. Here's the interview with Mary Ann Robbat.
In your own words, who is Mary Ann Robbat today?
In my own words, what I would say is I'm an ever-evolving person. I take each day as an opportunity to sort of listen into my soul and connect with my needs and just be present to what's evolving in front of me and to try to show up in a way that I can take advantage of what is being offered. So I would just say as an evolving being.
What is the destination, if there is one? We evolve to a certain point and then we stop and then we move on to a different realm or reality?
From what I understand with working with spirit is that our soul comes down to have these experiences, and these experiences inform the soul. So before we ever incarnate into these physical bodies, we set up all of this support and structure around what is this lifetime going to be for us? How will I know how to manage what's in front of me? What are the challenges I'm going to take on in this lifetime? So there's all these things that the soul decides before it incarnates. And then what happens is that we incarnate and we have these beautiful minds that also have free will that's attached to them. And so our lifetimes are usually this flow between soul's work and free will, what the mind is choosing to do at any period in time. And so our soul might say, here are all the lessons. And when you're done, you'll return home to soul. Our soul might also say, as long as you step into these lessons, I'll just let you live out your life in the best way possible. And if I find you sort of going left or right too much, I'll nudge you. Because our souls are always giving us messages. They're always trying to support us in whatever we need or want. And what I find beautiful about the soul is that there are some experiences that we have as humans that our soul didn't actually come in to experience. Like it's just a sort of a byproduct of how we grew up or our belief system or what experiences we had. And so when you decide like, oh, I've had enough, and I'll give you an example, like one of my clients could not stay in relationships more than 7 years. Like she was married and every marriage would end right around 7 years. She was in not married and those relationships would end around 7 years. So we were doing this work. I am so sick of this pattern. And I said, oh, okay, let me go up and ask your soul, is this something that you need to continue to experience? And the soul says, no, we're complete with that pattern. And so it was so liberating and freeing because then we could do work and the energy around what would it look like to have a more permanent relationship because she had never experienced one. And once we did that, she was now clear on what she wanted to bring in, that she went on to meet somebody and they've been in a marriage now for over 10 years. So soul can be along our lifetime complete with some of the lessons it came to learn. So it's always a good process for people to check in and see if soul's complete with the lesson or not.
And is there a destination for that, Marianne, per se, destination in a sense of the soul's journey? Does it end?
Yeah, so eventually, like the soul might have hundreds of lifetimes, but eventually a soul is like, yep, I'm complete. We're doing physical incarnations. Now I want to help those that go into the physical.
Right.
So have you heard the term ascended masters?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So what ascended masters really are souls that have incarnated many, many times and have chosen now to stay in the energetics and support those that come in to have these physical experiences. Like I channel mostly ascended masters that no longer incarnate into physical bodies, but they work with us to support our growth and our evolution and our understanding of what's real and what isn't real.
I know we talked before the first interview, and I remember asking you a similar question. How did you come to these insights? How did you discover your ability to channel, Marianne?
Well, that channeling happened by accident, I would say. But now what I know is that I had a contract that I was going to come down and channel information. But when it first happened to me, I didn't even really know what channeling meant. I had just recently began to explore my spirituality and what it meant, not religion, but spirituality. And even that was a distinction for me, like, because I thought religion was spirituality, only to find out, no, religion is religion. Spirituality is your ability to connect into yourself and into your higher sense or way of being and listen and hear and grow from that perspective. So when I was on that journey, I was just doing a lot of different exploring, like with teachers and with belief systems. And one day I was just out in my yard with some friends meditating. And here's a funny story. We had just built our house and everyone was choosing a location like, oh, let's all go sit under that tree. And when it was my turn to choose a location, I kept hearing about that, like I should go sit under this tree, but I did not want to because this tree it was the part of the yard that wasn't yet complete. So it was all muddy and rocky and just very uninviting. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to pick the front lawn. So I picked the front lawn. I sat down and I started to hear this loud voice in my head saying, go under the tree, go under the tree. And I'm like, oh my God, it was so loud, I couldn't meditate. And so I finally came out and I said to my friends, I'm really sorry, but for some reason we have to go sit under the tree. We go sit under the tree. And in that moment, I started to have a sense that there was something other than me that was starting to flow through me. And so it was a little bit scary because I didn't know what was happening. And all of a sudden, like this old creaky voice started to speak for me. And my friends were like a little bit nervous because none of us have ever been around anyone that channeled. But they're like, I think she's okay. She looks okay. And all of a sudden, this old squeaky voice started to share the most beautiful information on love and connection and how to be who we want to be truly and let go of all the different things other people put on us. And so when I came out of it, so I channeled this being's messages. And when I came out of it, like suddenly I was able to speak myself and back in my own consciousness. And they're like, what just happened? And I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I never heard about channeling. I had no idea. So a couple of days later, I called somebody that I had worked with and I told them about this experience I had. And they're like, oh, wow, you just channeled. And I'm like, oh, okay. And what is that? So for me, it happened quite accidentally. And I also found out as time went on that I had contracts in place to work with these ascended masters to deliver their messages and to support people on their journeys.
That sounds really wonderful to me. These abilities we have. I think we call it also intuition. That's one way that we all have, right, Marianne?
Everyone has intuition. It just is a matter of how quickly we're able to access it. And basically, it has to do with whether intuition is like building a muscle. Like we'll all get intuitive bursts, like because our spirit guides are always trying to speak to us. So when we listen, we get insightful, helpful information. But a lot of us aren't in the practice of listening. Like when we grew up, no one was saying, what is your intuition saying to you? Right? No one asked us that question. It was all around what's in front of you. What do you see? What do you hear? What are you doing? What is someone else doing? So the journey back to your own intuitive knowing really starts with you just sort of quieting down and asking yourself, what isn't I'm seeing, feeling, or experiencing in this moment? And we all have this gift. It's just how much time it will take us to remember how to connect with our own intuition.
This is something that it's really a challenge for me when it comes to listening to my intuition around my family members. The body's not comfortable. I have headaches and all when I'm around them.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think you have headaches every time you're around your family members?
Yeah, good question. And I have asked that question to myself because I'm practicing the non-judgmental, kind of being in a space of no judging. I try not to come up with stories for the reason why not to stay around them. Although something says to me that there is stuck energies or negativity at different levels. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. What I would say is, I mean, just in your speaking and when you mentioned your family, it's a vibrational frequency. You're on one level of frequency and vibration because you have some spiritual practices that you do that keep you in alignment with soul. Then you go into your family environment, which is very much disconnected from that and a lower frequency. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just sort of naming it, right? Like it's just a lower energetic frequency. So what happens is you have two choices. You get to stay in your high frequency and you're sensitive, right? You're an empath. So what's happening is you're feeling the discord between the energy frequencies. Like yours is high, theirs is low. So there's all this sort of static or energetic discord. And so you feel that. And a lot of times that can also give you headaches or migraines because you're now in that sort of collision of energy. So what I would do if I was advising you is when you go into your family environment, the first thing to do is put protective bands around yourself, like energetic bands. And the idea is that their energy can be around you, but you do not have to absorb it. These energetic bands keep their energy on that side, your energy on this side. So you're not living in that, you're not feeling and absorbing that discord. It's still there, but you're not experiencing it. It's a way that keeps you grounded and centered in your own energetic field.
Oh, that's great. So energetic bends, you call them.
Yes, I call them energetic bands. And the easiest way to figure out what a band is for you, it really has to do with your frequencies. But I teach a lot of programs. And before I know everyone's frequencies, the color bands, I use colors because colors represent frequencies. And a good frequency for everyone is the color blue. So imagine like a blue shield going right around you. And what I love about blue energy, it's a high enough frequency. It's about deep spiritual healing. So it's a high enough frequency to keep you in a high frequency. But it's also a very nurturing energy. It's like Mother Mary energy. It has that nurturing. So even if there's discord around you, the energy will bounce off that energetic band and you're not absorbing anything. But what you're feeling is the nurturing of that frequency.
There's energy healer around my town and I'm going to see her tomorrow. So I'll do that. Yeah, she probably has them or she will talk to me about it. Even by you talking to me like this, it feels elevated. It's different to the way I am visualizing being there, because when I talked to you just now about it, it kind of made me some sort of heaviness just set in just by talking about it. That's interesting how energy works.
Exactly. Well, what you're doing is you're bringing to your consciousness what you've been feeling. And once you bring to your consciousness two things, one is, I have control about feeling energy, because most people don't think, the biggest challenge that people that I work with have is that most people are empaths, so they absorb a lot of energy and they don't think they have control over it. And so that is in itself, like when you learn how you can powerfully stay within your own field and not absorb everything that's going on around you, oh my God, it's going to change your life dramatically. So your consciousness now is realizing, oh, wait a minute, I have control over this. I get to manage this. And what do our minds love? Our minds love control. So that's why all of a sudden all this sort of burden energy or stress or even like resistance, because we don't really want to go close to people that make us feel bad, right? So, but you love your family, I'm assuming, on the same hand. So you do want to be around them. So it's like this inner conflict that's going on. Like I do want to see my family, but I actually don't feel well when I'm around them. So now this is a great opportunity for you to see your family and feel well when you're with them.
When you say absorbing energy, is that being open to other people's energies?
Right. Like what empaths are people that They're like little sponges. They just absorb any energy when they walk into a room, when they go into a shop, wherever you are, you're almost getting bombarded by whatever energies in that area. For years, my husband and I, we would go out to dinner, and it's a joke in my family because my kids will always say, oh, she's going to change our seats. And the hostess would sit us somewhere, and I'd go to sit and I'd be like, yeah, no, we have that table? And my husband always used to think I was just being picky about the table. And actually, so did I, until I realized about energy stays in locations. And what would happen is I'd sit down and it wouldn't feel good to me. And so I'd want to move. And sometimes I would feel it, sit down and feel it. Sometimes I'd have a knowing like, oh, yeah, no, not that booth, because I could already feel the energy before I'm even there. Right. And so when you learn that you don't have to be the sponge, you'll always be an empath. Like I'm always in people's energy, but I'm not absorbing people's energy anymore. It's just a very liberating way of going through life now. And the empaths that I work with a lot, like they suffer a lot because they don't know how to create those energetic boundaries.
That's wonderful to know that we do have an option that's available. And you're right, it felt before like I had no control over it at all. So now it feels like it's an open possibility that I can manage that, being around people. And maybe that's why I do this podcast in audio only, because even the presence in a sense of looking at people, then it brings this charged energy to the body and I can feel it. So I did work around a lot of people before, and that's why I chose to do this now. So this might be really helpful, not just for me, but everybody else who feels like I do.
Absolutely. And what it will allow you to do is to do the work you're meant to do in the world and not have it be too much for you.
Right. Yes, yeah.
Because I can tell you're a beautiful person. You're like on your photo, you're beautiful. And the fact that, you can't connect one-on-one, eye to eye, because you're taking on too much of whoever you're connecting to.
Yeah.
Is just a limitation that you don't need to own anymore.
Yeah, I have a question for you about ascended masters. Is that what you call freedom from your perspective? Would that be freedom?
I call it liberation.
Right.
Yes. So ascended masters is when we choose as a soul not to have any of these lifetimes, but to come down and still support people. And some of us are ascended from the ascended masters, and our work in the world is to support in the physical form. So my work here in the world is to support others in a physical form. So people that, don't have meditation practices, don't go for a lot of this work, they'll meet me as a coach and I'll be supporting them. And then I interweave all the energy work with them. And before you know it, their whole world opens up. But I'm allowed to do that work because I'm one, in physical form, and two, because of my background, right? Like I worked in corporate America. I have my own healing schools. I'm very grounded. So people that wouldn't normally come into this energy work do because of who I am in this lifetime. And so that's how ascended masters work. Sometimes they come down to have or they work with physical beings here to share their knowledge and wisdom so those beings can go out and sort of spread their word as well.
So basically, you're saying that liberation can happen in the body or without the body. It doesn't require losing the body.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think liberation can happen in big ways and small ways. Like when I first started doing energy work, when I first just started to meditate or connect to my soul and to understand really how the universe is organized, that was huge liberation for me. Now, my external environment didn't change much. Like I still worked in a company. I still was married. I still, ran my life. the same way, but how I related to life changed so dramatically that it really liberated me. It took me out of what I see the number one thing that causes a lot of pain and suffering with people is that they compare and contrast themselves to others, or to, what other people's beliefs are about them, or judgments, or whatever it is. And the moment we let somebody else's opinion of us matter more than our own is the moment that we give over our power to whoever that is. We're letting them decide how worthy we are, how valuable we are. So that's where I see most suffering happening. So liberation can happen in this world simply by understanding and learning just to honor and treasure yourself as is, and stop all the comparing and contrasting, and just honor your journey and your way of being in the world. And that can really liberate you to free you up to live in such a more empowering and impactful way in your life.
So do you believe that we are walking toward the experience of liberation? And another question is, do you envision one day somehow that all of us in this human body and on earth will get to that, to experience that together?
I do. Yes to both. Yeah. Yes, our personal journeys, the way we come and have these experiences are to continue to sort of evolve the human nature, right? And do I ever believe that all of us as a collective can get to true liberation? I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Is it in my physical lifetime? Probably not. But I do think that's the goal of the collection of souls, is to sort of move all of us in a loving, nurturing, supportive way to experience our own liberation, our own sense of freedom, and truly our own uniqueness, and to value that in life.
Have you heard about this experience happening before in history? I mean, not the world history, but universal history.
Yeah, I actually, now we're getting really esoteric.
Yes, we are.
If this is your intention or not, but
why not? Yes, I do talk a lot about
and
these
I'm happy
topics.
to go there with you. I just didn't know whether that was something you wanted, but I do. Like, there's lots of different dimensions going on concurrently than our dimension called planet Earth that have liberated collective soul experiences. And as our soul is up in the universal energy, and it has all of these different experiences at once. It doesn't just come down here to live one life at a time. Like, that's very limited thinking on our perspective. So our souls are very dynamic and powerful. So they might be in this dimension having this experience, but they could be in another dimension having a different experience where liberation lives. So that's why I was saying, yes, I do believe it. And we can experience it on many different levels.
So it might also be that this experience here that the soul is having in the human body is just what is being imperfect, maybe looking for that liberation. That might be what the experience is all about, right, Marianne?
Yeah,
here.
I think our experiences here are really all about growth. All about how do you take and live in the human condition and grow and learn from it and evolve and change and create what it is that you want. Because the nice thing about our planet is it's a huge source of co-creation. Because in our physical world, we get to create physical things, right? Like, you get to create this podcast, you get to create bringing speakers out into the world to connect with your network. So that's all a form of practicing being in flow, being in the energy, and liberating ourselves and others by doing the work.
Wow, what comes to mind as well is that in a way we are liberated then. If we are having those experiences of liberation in different dimensions, that means that this is just an experience of non-liberation. But yeah, essentially we're all liberated.
I mean, everyone's experienced little moments of their life of liberation.
Yeah.
And our goal is to say, how do you take those moments and create minutes or bigger experiences around them?
The topic we were supposed to talk today was getting and stay in balance, ease, and flow. By you talking to me the way you did now, or to the audience, empaths and introverts, and it kind of it brought everything together. So it's that movement, is knowing how to dance with this life, with this experience. But I do want to ask you a question about balance, because I asked a question, I think yesterday, to somebody about what is your idea of balance? And I remember she saying, I don't like the word balance. I like harmony better. So talk to me for a moment about what balance is from your perspective, Marianne.
Oh, it's interesting because I could see why she would say harmony, but I love the word balance because it's a very it's a mindset, right? Like that everyone knows about and can connect with. So the balance mindset is our ability to do whatever we choose to do and do it in ways where our life feels harmonious. So the outcome might be harmony. And so what I love about balance is it's an opportunity for us to have so many different things at play, right? Like, if you're a musician and you're an artist and you're also a business person and maybe you're a healer, like you get to do so many different things. And how do you keep them all moving forward in a way that supports you? And so for me, I have some very practical exercises that I think about and I work with. Actually, I was just driving to the dump with my 21-year-old and she was saying, Mom, there's just so much to keep, she's working this summer in a job at a company and she's waitressing at night and she wants to work out and she wants to eat well and take care of herself. And she goes, there's just so much to juggle. And I said, yes. And what I think the biggest thing to keep us in balance is to find a system that works for you. So there's spiritual balance, and spiritual balance looks like every morning you put out your intentions, like how do you want to be? What kind of day do you have? I always ask my guides for ease and flow. So that's that I would say is spiritual balance. And then there's life balance, right? Like today I have 12 clients. I have an interview to do. I went to the dump. I played tennis this morning, right? Like how do you keep all of the things? Because I love to play. I also love to work. So how do I keep all of those things in balance? And a lot of it has to do with coming to your day with the perspective of, oh my gosh, I get to do all this stuff. I'm privileged to do all of this stuff, even going to the dump. Like, it's so funny. We lived in this, we're in a summer community right now. We've lived here I've been here since I was 7. Every summer I spend up here. I have never been to the dump. We always have trash service, but it's not getting turned on to next week. And I had all these boxes I had to get rid of. And so I'm like, oh, I have 20 minutes. So you want to come for a ride with me? And we'll stop at Dunkin' afterwards. Like that was a little treat, believe it or not, that we stuck in the middle of our day. But my intention is to do something and have a fun time with it. So if you go through your life looking for that kind of balance, like, how do I make my life feel fun? How do I make it look like flow to me? How do I know? And you'll only know this by at the end of the week, checking in with yourself and saying, what was out of balance? Oh, did I work too much? Did I not have enough playtime? Did I do my self-care? Was I able to eat well? And so when you ask yourself those questions, then you can tweak what you put together for the next week.
And I absolutely love, Marianne, there's also another piece that they mentioned is playfulness and having fun. There's inviting that into our lives again. Because most of us take everything too seriously, ourselves, our work, family, everything. And then we forget to play.
Exactly. When we are in a playful place, we're open to possibilities and opportunities, which as soul is always trying to pass our way. So life is a lot easier when you're in that place. Yeah, and I agree with you. People take life too seriously. And I think they take it too seriously because they hold it as there's a right way and a wrong way to do things. But if you could let go of that idea that there's a right way and a wrong way, there's only your way of doing something,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
then you're in acceptance of yourself and what can be.
We're almost at the end. I do have another question for you. Before that, one more question, the final question. Before that, would you like to add anything?
No, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, it took a different turn, interestingly. So my last question is, what are 3 things about life you wish everyone to know or to have before they leave the body?
So the first thing is it goes by way faster than we can imagine. There's, some days the days are long, but the years are really quick. And so for me, it's about how do you wring out of life as much joy, as much pleasure, as much connection as you can. So it's really about being more rather than doing. And that's actually where I live, like my balance question. How much am I doing and how much do I get to be in life? And not so much about what I'm actually doing and am I in balance, but do I have a balance between doing and being? So that for me is the first thing. The second thing is that if your life is not going the way that you want it, change it. You get to change what isn't working. And what I've seen is a lot of adults are fearful of change. And change is really just a condition of the old isn't working. You're going to create something new. And in the in-between state, we're in the unknown. And adults don't like to live in the unknown. But if you give yourself permission that you know what your end state is, right? Like you know what the better situation is. And you know that the situation you're currently in isn't working for you. So the unknown is simply a journey to get you to the better situation. Then I think it frees people up to make some movement and choice. And what would I say for the third thing? Gosh, I have so many different things running. I think that the most important thing that I've learned through my journey is that when I don't feel well, when I feel sad or I don't feel inspired or I get angry over stupid things, it's because I'm out of connection with my soul. Like I've disconnected somehow and I'm operating my life from my mind, from my ego. And so it's a really good measurement stick. Like if I realize, oh, I don't like the way I'm behaving in this moment, it's usually because I'm an ego. And when I go into ego likes to control things, not because it wants to be this masterful controller. It's because our egos have a job and our job is to keep us safe. And so it will try to keep us limited and what's available based on what we know. So one of the most important things is if we find ourselves like in ego, ask yourself the question, ooh, what am I afraid of in this moment? Because that, if you can ask yourself that question, then you can actually do something about it to shift out of ego and back into your spiritual connection.
That's a beautiful message and advice, suggestion for all of us. Self-awareness first, because you can't even know that movement unless you're self-aware. And then knowing the nature of the mind, right? It's to keep us safe. So true. And I love what you said about the unknown. To me, it's like this, talking to you today, I mean, this moment now, being a human body, to me, it's the unknown itself. I mean, I'm surprised sometimes. What's going on? What is this here? I ask these questions all of a sudden. So yeah, to me, it seems like everything is the unknown already.
Oh, what I would say is it's actually the known because you are in connection. And for whatever reason, maybe your spirit knows these are the questions you should be asking that some of your listeners need to hear. Like those are the moments that I think that we're really in flow is when we're willing to go off script, off questions, off topic, and follow the energy where it's bringing us. Because usually the energy is what leads our way. And if we can simply follow it, we tend to experience something bigger, better than we ever knew.
So true, Marianne. Like this conversation, it all of a sudden just kind of went totally in a different way. Because you are a healer, energy healer. So that makes sense that you would attract that kind of space. You would invite that space of exploration. And yeah.
Absolutely. I never come prepared to any interview because I love to be in the present moment and just flow with wherever it takes us.
Yeah.
Some people would find that nerve-wracking. I find that a source of creation.
Oh, and it is. And it's so beautiful. It's being nature itself, too. We see that in nature just happening. Thank you so much for being that space.
You're very welcome. And thank you. I mean, you were the one asking all the questions that took us down a different path. So what I would say is there was someone was speaking to you, spirit, so whomever, and you followed. You know, you listened in and went off your script.
We are in this together, in this experience together. So it's beautiful to me just to enjoy it. So we'll be in touch soon. But before we say goodbye, where can we find more information about you, your work, services, and future projects, Marianne?
Okay. Well, in about 3 weeks, my new website will be launched. It's mariannerobbat.com. And there you'll find all of the different programs, the schools I have open, and the books I've written, the vibrational frequency cards I've created to help support you on your journey. This
is a new website, or I have a different one here that...
Yes, Center for Lifelong Happiness.
Yes.
Yes. So we just rebranded ourselves, and it's not out yet, but I'm assuming by the time your podcast goes out, it will be live. It's mariannerobbat.com.
Wonderful.
So
I'll get that link.
As of the third week of July, that's how you'll be able to get in touch with me.
Thank you so much again, Marianne, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. To learn more about Marianne Robbat and her work, please visit mariannerobbat.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.